Hi, welcome to Kytchens Konnect. Today we have my dear friend Gaurav Gite, who started this uber cool brand called Marrakesh 16 years ago. Today Marrakesh has pretty much achieved a legendary status. Their shawarmas are absolutely famous. Gaurav, being a first-time entrepreneur from Pune, starting this brand, so we thought it would be a great idea to get him on the couch today and sort of get some feedback and understanding for that how he went about establishing this brand, how we grew it, how we work with different aggregators, different people, customers, and sort of created this legendary brand. So thank you, Gaurav, for doing this. Welcome to Kytchens Konnect and trying to help other budding entrepreneurs trying and copy what you do and successfully. So Gaurav, we just want to tell us, why Marrakesh, how it came about, your journey, why Pune, how your mom helped you set up. It'll be an interesting conversation.
Thanks, Nachiket, and thanks for having me at the Kytchens office. And Marrakesh, it started back in 2007. I remember, a simple hotel management graduate going for his post-graduation and coming back to India to, just wandering around thinking of what to do.
Sure.
And that's where, back then it was not so easy to, find jobs that recognize you as a chef. The industry was still sailing into this whole duopoly of calling someone a chef and a cook.
Sure.
So Marrakesh happened for the sheer love of shawarmas. I have to tell you this. There's a small place in Goa called Mapsa.
Yeah.
There is a very interesting food cart that happens there, and it's been happening since maybe is it second generation who's taking care of it, and he's never graduated from a food cart to a shop. He's still kept it a cart, but he does roughly around 500 shawarmas a day.
Oh, excellent.
And we used to back then go to him in our college uniforms and have a shawarma and come back to where our IHM was, and that slowly grew to when I went to do my post graduation in New Zealand. I went down to New Zealand and I was in Auckland for a while and New Plymouth for a while. But strangely, every other street there had a doner cafe or a Turkish joint or what we call shawarmas. And back then, this was the most popular and stylish on-the-go food.
Sure.
It was like you have had a very late night, or you have been partying with someone. You are hungry. You want a quick snack, and shawarma was the answer. And that's how my fascination for shawarmas grew. Plus, I worked under Chef Lothar Abercorn. He was quite known in the Middle Eastern circuit for what he'd done. A German chef who was very popular in the Middle Eastern side. So the entire thing was the fascination of the food, the love for food, and obviously like how we term it today as a cuisine gap.
Sure.
Initially, we were not so much with data or things that we termed things, but there was a gap. There was a gap of people or India serving good shawarmas, and that's how we started. And my mom helped me. I didn't come from a restaurant background, so it's very difficult for an Indian businessman to be around on the initially explaining what he wants to do, explaining what he wants to achieve in his life over business. That time it wasn't entrepreneurship, it was pure play business.
Sure.
Things were business and profits. There was not much of a vision, scale, things. But somehow my mom believed in me, and that's how it happened. Pune again has an interesting story. So I was very laid back as an individual. I'm not very ambitious to.
I think if you look at it, most Maharashtrians that way are sort of, they like to sort of enjoy, work hard also, but chill also, I would say.
Yeah. And being there, after you study in Goa for 3 years, and after that when you go to New Zealand for 3 years, so it is a complete, it puts you back into a very lifestyle friendly environment. You want to be laid back, you want to enjoy everything and still work.
Sure.
And Pune was one of the cities. I remember when I went to Pune first, वहाँ पे ना दोपहर को दुकानें बंद होती थी, तो कि लंच के लिए दुकानें बंद है, and I was like, this is my place where I want to do business. Because Bombay was still very fast, economically far expensive. So Pune was the city, Pune was the education hub, Pune had a lot of interesting facets about the growing geographies. and that's how Pune happened. So
Sure.
that's where we started.
So from so far what we've discussed, I think two key facets that I've picked up is one is that like you said, cuisine gap. So I think identifying that USP or moat or what your business can be built around is I think what you sort of discovered when you said you looked at shawarma internationally and also in Goa and figured out that there's this gap and you sort of try to fill it. Secondly, I think the key point you brought up also, you might say, you are laid back or whatever, but I think it comes to the fact that you need to have a work-life balance. Today, a lot of people don't understand this work-life balance. Everybody's either chasing something or running behind something. But that I think it's key to have. Yes, you want to grow and you want to put in the hard work and stuff like that. But that's interesting. So tell us your experience from opening the first store. Like, what kind of effort did go into it? How did you identify? How did you build the team? Where did you find the spices? Stuff like that. Is there like an interesting piece on how you came around the first store? Because I know today you have 12 in Goa, in Pune.
Yeah, about 12 in Pune. So it was a very basic journey. How we learn culinary skills, how we do things, and a boy back from his college comes around putting something. So there were not too many tools that time.
Sure.
So today you have an access to data, Instagram, Facebook, whole range of analysts supporting where do you want to do the business.
Absolutely.
There are leasing teams from JLL to everything to help identify you location, malls. Retail hadn't happened that much back then. 2007-5 in fact was the start of retail.
Absolutely.
So for us it was like a simple mathematics of what areas are doing well. Where can you pick up where वो हम बोलते हैं ना थोड़े areas खाऊ गली रहते हैं.
Yes.
So where can you go find a thing? It was an eye for detail to look out for elements, to look out for traffic sites, to look out. It was a very very organic process of selecting something.
Sure.
And that's how we started. That's how we picked up a place in Pune. Because you are a first time businessman or from the food service area, you want to have something which you can control. So we opened a 350 odd square feet place and wanted to do a Lebanese street cafe.
Sure.
So back then, we didn't have money for a fine dine place, and cloud kitchens weren't much a thing. So the only thing was a compact quick service restaurant that we termed as a Lebanese street cafe.
Sure. And how did the name Marrakesh come across?
So I remember of when we talk about pizzas, when we talk about a restaurant which triggers North Indian food, most of these restaurants had names which you could identify.
Sure.
That now today we call as an AI dominated decision. So today if you ask an entrepreneur to pick up a name for his restaurant, he is going to go around matching keywords, hashtags, things, and then he's going to pick up a name.
Yeah.
For us it was a different journey. For us, Marrakesh was a town in Morocco. I knew there was another restaurant named Marouche back then in Bombay, which even the ITC had, and the only reason we picked up Marrakesh was someone to relate to the food back from there.
Yeah.
So Pune has a very strong brand called Little Italy.
Yeah.
So again, the word Italy, though he's the only brand who scaled so much with a vegetarian Italian joint.
Absolutely.
Like I cannot think of a pizza without my pepperoni, but there are people who do.
Sure.
And everyone had a strikingly balanced approach when they picked up names. Though it was creative, but they had a balanced approach.
Sure.
And that's the reason Marrakesh. So I remember Osho, or there were a lot of foreigners around in Koregaon Park and Kalyani Nagar, and we were like 5 minutes away from Koregaon Park, and every other person who saw the name Marrakesh knew that yes, there is a hummus over here and there is a shawarma over here, and that actually helped us, and that's how the name came.
So do you still have the original location with you?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh,
we have.
And is it still 350 square feet?
It is still 350 square feet. It is still the same size, still doing the same numbers.
Great.
That maybe we used to do back then, or rather they multiplied 5-folds. But the irony is we had that shop since 2007 till now.
Yeah.
Even after having the money to fund it to a bigger shop.
Yeah.
But हमारे में बोलते कि वो जो धंधा अच्छा चल रहा है उसको हाथ नहीं लगाते.
Absolutely. Why spoil a good thing? No, I agree. And also the funny part when you mentioned is like I in 2007 I moved back from the US to India, and that time Facebook was not a thing or like that big a thing or was just coming in. So for you to market and make Marrakesh such a big thing means kudos on it. I'm sure it took a lot of effort to also educate people, because like you said, for Pune this is something new, because I as a child visited Pune very often. My summers, but my cousins were there. But you know, your Vaishali, your Rupali, your all of these places, your bakery, those were the popular things. People used to go to Marzipan and eat their rolls. So to create a business that was sort of not familiar to people is like kudos, man. It's like the kind of what kind of marketing, what kind of ideas did you use to sort of get people to come and try it out?
It was very difficult initially because we were placed. We were the most expensive shawarma joint in Pune. 2007, our first shawarma was placed at about 85 rupees, where the rest of the market was doing it at 40, 45.
Sure.
But the only difference was the ingredients. Now to convince someone to have a shawarma at 85 was a challenge.
Exactly.
Forget the name or the branding element of it, the whole aspect of why the 85 rupee shawarma. And to educate every single person, saying that hey, you know, there is hummus in it, tahini in it, garlic sauce, there is harissa in it, and it's in a pita bread. So these things were something that the customer also, once they knew, we had a good retention.
Sure.
And I believe 2004, 5, 6 onwards, travel had become very easy.
Sure.
Travel had become economic.
Yes.
And that is how there was a lot of inflow who knew what shawarmas were, who knew what food was.
Absolutely.
And they happily embraced it. So initially I would say it was word of mouth.
Sure.
Word of mouth, we started doing events, caterings. We were the only street cafe back then. So if you have a party at home, earlier you never had an option of putting a shawarma machine for your guests.
Absolutely.
And people just started calling us randomly for barbecue parties and shawarma parties. And we started becoming a household name slowly, because it was the most stylish thing that could go to your guest. And that made it very popular. The word of mouth traveled a lot. And somehow we were blessed to be there.
I think also for my first experience of, say, your brand probably is NH7. Yeah. That's why we sort of saw you, and I'm sure that you've been in every NH7, and probably the biggest draw. I think NH7 won't have a food court unless Marrakesh is there. So I think that also opened out you to a lot more audiences from different cities coming in, and I'm sure you get still a lot of inquiries saying that hey, come to our city and come to our city, and so I think that helped.
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing that helped was this. We were the only brand those days traveling with OML pan India.
Yeah.
We did the festivals in Delhi, Shillong, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad. So we were traveling with music festivals. We now that you call a Sunburn, earlier used to be like a Bacardi Blast and a Smirnoff Zone. I remember back those days of submerge events. So we started, and a music festival is one such place where if it's a nice happy festival, there are 20,000 people looking at your brand that very day.
Yeah.
And not many brands were used to doing this or getting out of their comfort zone.
Sure.
Initially the entire fraternity was very fine dine kind of setups or bigger setups where they quite hesitated to do events.
Sure.
And there stood an opportunity which we grabbed.
Yeah. No, that's what I realized, on my multiple interaction with you, that you and your company are very versatile. Even today, any music festival, we speak to you about saying that, hey, come on board, and you're happy to, your setup is small, well planned out. We talk to other brands and say, okay, like Lollapalooza happened or something happened, come there. And they're like, no, I'll need so many fryers and I'll need so much space and I'll need so much electrical. But when I talk to you and your team, they're like, yes, this has to be done, we'll figure it out, don't worry, we'll be there. So that's, I think, one of the key things that I always figure out with your interactions, that way your company is very dynamic and versatile. Like, I think that's also key in your growth.
It is. Being flexible with a lot of things helped us in many ways, and we had always thought upon. See, earlier there wasn't a venture capital or a fund supporting you. Everything was out of the profits.
Sure.
Though there were big funds who had ventured into Jubilant or burger chain that big or something, but entrepreneurs in India never had an access to those kind of funds.
Absolutely.
So your bottom line was a simple thing: make profits.
Yeah.
Now, however you want to survive, you do an event, you do an catering, you do. So that culture in the organization was set from day one.
Yeah.
That no one's going to come for your rescue. No
Yeah.
one's going to come for my rescue.
Sure.
We have to work, earn the dollar, and spend a cent.
Yeah.
So, and it was fun. See, doing music festivals, doing things, events are fun. You
Absolutely.
get to entertain. You see the biggest artist performing.
Sure.
What does a kid at that age want? I mean,
Yeah.
you're building up your brand alongside such big artists.
True.
So, yes, somewhere everyone was convinced that this was the right way to go, and that's the reason even today, if there is a music festival or something, and we are like, yes, it takes us a day to set up something.
Makes sense. So now in this journey, how did the menu evolve? Because you started with shawarma and maybe Lebanese, now you have a lot more variety on your menu. So how did that process come across, and how, because you've been very dynamic that way, with the quality of product and then on your menu, the kind of offerings, how you've grown that. So, share some of that with us also.
So basically, menus in India have to be curated in a very, very tight space.
Sure.
Well, there is a saying that not too many chefs are successful in India with their restaurants.
Absolutely.
It is nothing but you cannot have a menu that is only curated on the base of creativity. You can run one restaurant with it, not scale with it. So I believe menus have to be very generalized. Now, if I would have done a restaurant which is solely, which I did also, which is solely Moroccan or Middle Eastern or Lebanese, I think it wouldn't have worked.
Sure.
It would have always worked where you have a strong backbone of an Indian cuisine. So typically when you do kebabs, you have to have a North Indian. So we are Indians by nature, You want to have a shawarma, your friend wants to have a chicken tikka, and then you both end up having a butter chicken and biryani. So we are Indians who want to get to every course in our own way.
Absolutely.
So not only with Lebanese or us, it was if you want to open a Malay restaurant or a Vietnamese restaurant, if it didn't have a basic fried rice or noodles, you could never make money out of that restaurant ever.
Yeah.
So it was just a thoughtful selection of menu items that are an everyday item for someone.
So Gaurav, you've discussed so much about Marrakesh and how you came about doing all of that, but was there anything else you explored? Like, was there other cuisines you went to or other kind of businesses that you tried, worked, didn't work? What learnings you got from that, if you want to share some of that?
So as a restaurateur, you always have the passion to create something.
Sure.
And so did we. As an F&B team, you don't want to be bored with one single brand, chasing one single thing, because it gets too monotonous sometimes. And so we did a lot of fine dine restaurants. We did small other setups, other cuisine types. So in this journey, we did something. We had a fine dine place called as Sarasota, which was a Goan restaurant. It was a completely fine dine place with alcohol, with a Goan vibe. With Marrakesh, we thought, okay, let's go, because Moroccan food is always linked to entertainment, bands, Sufism and things. So we had a place called Habibi where we did an exclusive Moroccan menu, and it was supported with a bar, entertainment, bands, storytellers. It was right in ABC Farm in Pune, one of the oldest places that had restaurants. We had a Pan-Asian brand called Noodle Canteen. We partnered with a brand from Bangalore with Andhra food called Shanmukha. And there were bars, restaurants, there were a lot of things. So we were a company putting our hands into multiple things. One aspect was to keep ourselves entertained, to do something new. And the second was every other business gave us different margin.
Sure.
So, the sustainability of the company starts getting better. So a restaurant and bar that had bigger margins than a Lebanese street cafe. Retail had just happened, so we ventured into food court outlets.
Sure.
So we tried our hands into every format.
Absolutely. And also now, like you said, every format. Now you also, when you started, the whole aggregators or Zomato, Swiggy didn't exist. Now there is aggregators, there is cloud kitchens, and you've transitioned or smoothly sailed through all of this. So what are the learnings been from a restaurant to also doing delivery? I'm sure you did delivery on your own, but now with aggregators and now cloud kitchens, like people like us that you're working with, how has that journey been?
It is not a smooth journey, I would say, but it has been a journey. It has been a journey with a lot of learnings. The only aspect that I see is everything keeps on changing, and so will the F&B world change.
Sure.
And someone who's hesitant to accept it is going to be left behind. I believe the entire ride-sharing business changed. The entire ecosystem with the insurance business changed. A lot of things with fitness changed, and there was something that was supposed to happen in F&B. So now, an entrepreneur doesn't need that kind of capital to start up in an F&B world.
Sure.
With companies like Kytchens, you can really venture out, dream into multiple locations with a precise capital in your hand.
Yeah.
It can all these entry barriers have been broken, but when entry barriers are broken, you have the challenge of sustaining yourself in a lot of competition.
True.
So I believe ultimately the experience, the product, and the consumer is the king.
Sure.
This is something that is going to come even if it is aggregated orders or non-aggregated. Now aggregation till a while is going to be a part of our lives.
Absolutely.
We have aggregation in everything.
Sure.
Today. It has made life easy for the consumer. But back then, when there was nothing like a Zomato or Swiggy, life was much easier with restaurants.
Yeah.
Having to manage one landlord, the biggest expense on your P&L,
Yeah.
and a little bit of offline marketing.
Sure.
But now the same line heads
Yeah.
that we call in our profit and loss statements have gone into 5 major heads.
Absolutely.
Being commissions, performance marketing, the landlord, your back-end team to manage the entire digital scope
Sure.
of work. So it has just been too many heads now that a single person should think and learn and then work around.
Absolutely. Kitchen as a service provider like us, our first brand that we started off with was Marrakesh. So this is sort of surreal to have you here and talk about it. But just kitchen as a service, has it helped you to come into a city like Bombay, and what are the pitfalls or challenges that you also face with working with someone like us, and what are the benefits it also gives you?
See, Kytchens as a platform is a very unique idea where not many people indulge into the culinary structuring for a brand.
Sure.
And the biggest limitation for a brand to scale is the culinary expertise.
Absolutely.
You can find real estate through channels, you can find infrastructure through channels, you can get the best equipments, the best people around. But to really put up the entire team and have a culinary aspect to scale is something that you provide that none provides.
Absolutely.
For us, we remember categorically signing up in the COVID times with you, which was the most difficult times for anyone in this business,
Sure.
which actually made it something to remember of. I remember you started Juhu back then, and you were all glued to have. I don't have someone who would have really dared to put up a new venture in that kind of atmosphere. And I remember we did great numbers with you.
Absolutely.
It started happening, and the whole belief in a model like this started prevailing much more, and that's how we started scaling. Drawbacks or shortcomings or something, these are all models which require a lot of learning, a lot of gestation period, and a lot of time with each other to make it successful. So
Absolutely.
we are still in a journey where we look out that okay, these kitchens and us have 10 years together, have a decade together to build up and deliver.
Yeah.
So every year that is passing will have a different delivery.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we've been successful in doing
No, for
things
us,
with each other.
that's the thing, right? We have such comfort with working with you. That's why now we're trying to do this foray into Pune, and our natural selection of partners using that. Hey, if we could bring you here, you can take us there, and how can we work together? So I think it's a symbiotic relationship from that sense that really sort of drives us also to like perform better, because every time I meet you, it leaves me with 4 new ideas that this is what we should be doing, because it's, the wavelength is so great, or the comfort level is so great that it helps. I think the last 2 3 pieces that I want to touch upon with you, because again you've seen the journey since 2007, is, again in 2007, like you said, there are no VCs, no investors, no this, but you've seen that whole, cycle where people have come and put money, not put money, the kind of top line, bottom line, all of that. So for a new person getting into this business of cloud kitchens or food brands, what is that? Because today everybody I talk to just says, okay, I will build this and then I'll get an investor and then I'll go to X location, without realizing is it a good thing or a bad thing. So what are your learnings from that?
My learnings with the fund cycles, investors were even there before, but not structured. Today, because we talk structured money, we have a VC, we have a fund house, we have individual HNIs who invest through structured funds.
Sure.
When you're accepting someone's money is when you're carrying a huge responsibility.
Absolutely.
Where you know that money has to work for everyone, not only you. It has to work for your team, it has to work for brands, it has to work for the future.
Yeah.
So money invested today has a responsibility of the future,
Sure.
which many people don't understand.
Sure.
Which entrepreneurs are in a world which they are taught about of valuations or exits, which not many brands in F&B in India have been able to successfully achieve.
Yeah.
So India is still under the developing phase of F&B, where money with investors have to be sought with a reason of growth,
Yeah.
not exits and exaggerated valuations.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you pick up the money that way, I think you are here to be.
Sure. And we are in 2023, since 2007 to 2023 now. In 16 years that you've been plugging along and making Marrakesh successful. What is the future plans? Like more cities, more locations, more ideas, more menus?
Yeah, absolutely. More cities, more locations, more partners like you, spreading it around. Because the whole dynamics of how we were used to do restauranting of food has changed. So there is a lot of horizontal association we are looking out.
Sure.
There's a lot of markets today. D2C is a bigger, a very big story that brands are coming up with. B2B markets existed, but smaller players couldn't enter with the monopoly of bigger ones. But all these barriers have been broken.
Sure.
So today a business has a lot of avenues to develop, and hopefully we are also looking out at the same thing of getting into all sides of the markets with different revenue streams.
The last thing that I want to talk to you about and touch up upon, which we initially briefly you said in the beginning, but I know you have written a book and it's dedicated to your mother. So talk a little bit about that, about why the book, how your mom has been a great sort of guiding light through this journey of yours.
Oh, actually, every mom has always been a guiding light to their sons and daughters and people around, but we take her in a very granted way.
Sure.
I remember whenever Mama used to call me, she used to ask me only 2 questions. Have you eaten and are you safe? Where are you? She didn't want to inquire anything about my business, work, nothing, because she gave me that freedom.
Sure.
Now the book was written because I believe that the true guru that you have in your life is your mother.
Absolutely.
When it comes to food and beverage especially, we talk in Marathi, we say, when we are growing up, you grow up with this kitchen set called Bhatukli. So even before you learn anything else in this world,
Sure.
you start playing with things from the kitchen.
Yeah.
In an F&B world, your mom runs like a complete kitchen with the same equipment, be it someone who have 10 people in the family, or be it that you have a birthday party. So budgeting, infrastructure, cuisines. So how many times do you go home and say that, Mom, I don't like this, make something else?
Yeah. Sure.
Can you do that in a restaurant? Can you go and tell your chef that, hey, I don't like this, make something else?
Yeah.
So your mom has had controls with F&B or with food since you've ever known food.
Yeah.
Not only me, there are about 22 entrepreneurs founders of unicorn company, who have page breakers and extracts of what their mom had
Sure.
taught them. So the book was a very plain, simple message that a mom that you see like a Parvati can turn into a Durga and protect a family also when needed. Confide your things in front of her, ask her for opinions, ask her for things, and you will get most of your answers in life.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you, Gaurav. This was amazing. Thank you for doing this. I hope our viewers and our listeners will get a lot of insights from this. And I'm sure maybe they would like to reach out to you. So we will connect them if anybody that does reach out to us. But thank you for doing this. We will keep doing these sessions with you as we have more and more things that we want to learn from you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me over.
Perfect,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.